All right, hi everybody. How you doing? This is Robert Rivera with Who's on First the show, and I have a special guest.
My name's Paul Ryan, and I have been involved in the baseball scouting for about the last 4 years or so, just as an associate scout, not any major role, but doing associate scouting with the Philadelphia Phillies is what I have been doing, and loving every minute of it.
So you're based out of Philadelphia, or where are you based out of?
I'm based out of St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Yeah.
Okay, you
St. Louis,
do a lot of traveling as a scout, I guess.
No, actually, the way we have it set up is the only areas that they really want me to worry about would be just in the St. Louis area.
Okay.
Now I do whenever I go out and travel, and if there's an event, I have traveled to different events when I'm out and about, and I used to travel more than I do today.
Okay.
But when I used to travel, whenever I would go someplace, I'd always look up and see if there was any event that I could go look at or a ball game going on. I like just hanging out on a baseball field and seeing high school ball players.
Okay. So how many kids do they give you? Like, they say, hey, here's 30 kids. Take a look at these. How does that whole process work as far as the scout is concerned?
They don't give me any. So you have to go find everybody. I mean, unless there may be situations where they'll say, hey, we heard about this kid. Our analytics department has seen so-and-so on their analytics, looks pretty good at so-and-so Division III college. He's in St. Louis. Would you mind go checking him out this weekend? But other than that, what I do is I go and just watch games or showcase events and try to put a overall future value or potential on a player. And when I think it's good enough for me to present to the club, I will put together a report on that particular kid and send it into the area scout. And then he picks it apart and determines whether or not he wants to even consider it.
Okay. All right. So now I've run into a couple of issues down in where my neck of the woods here, where people at the little league level are like, hey, you should be bringing scouts to my kid's game or whatever. Do you guys go any little league games? I mean, everything is a showcase. It's something that had to pique the Philadelphia interest, correct?
Oh, no, I wouldn't say that, I think it's all on an individual basis. I don't think it's on a team basis. I think each individual scout has his own opinion as to, what he thinks the age group is. I have a tendency to enjoy little league games, but the only thing I enjoy is just to see the enthusiasm in the kids playing baseball. I think it's pretty hard to say at the little league age. Babe Ruth, yes, but not little league. I think, of course, there's been some pro players that have come out of little league, and we know who those players are. They played in the the National Little League Series, and they've gone on. But I think really truthfully, those players were natural athletes, and they went on to play baseball at a higher level as time went on. I don't think they necessarily were discovered though in the little league time frame. Now, I'm not saying that people didn't or scouts didn't see them play when they're little leaguers and say, oh, I'm making a special note on that kid.
Right.
But I don't think I would spend a special focus on going out to just watch little leaguers. It would be more of just a coincidence type thing. I'm going to start off looking at people when they're in that, somewhere between 7th to 9th grade age, probably closer to the 9th grade age, maybe when they're in their JV team, that type of process, or where you're really trying to see, you might see somebody at a high school game that's a freshman that no one else has seen yet because you showed up at the game and he happened to pitch 4 innings that day and he looked pretty sharp. So then you might want to put him on your list and say, maybe I need to come back and see that kid when he, develops a little bit physically.
Okay.
When he decides, that he doesn't want to just be a shortstop and he wants to be a pitcher or whatever that may be in 1 or 2 or 3 years.
What are you looking for as far as the scout is concerned?
I look for athletes. I look for people that I think fit all those 5 tools, right? You're also going to make special notes about somebody that, has extraordinary power. Or has an extraordinary arm. You want those extraordinary tools to be documented, because those extraordinary tools put with improvements on the other. Let's say, for example, a kid has above average arm and he's only in ninth grade. Well, if everything else catches up to that above average arm, then that means that he's going to be possibly a potential player, So you're looking for the highs of those 5 tools. Very rarely are you going to find somebody that has all 5 tools that are in 9th or 10th grade that is just going to continue to have that. You're going to see highs and lows of all the 5 tools, and you just want to see somebody that has the best of what they can find in those 5 tools. I would say power. That's not really even fair to say. Speed sometimes, might be like that guy has extraordinary speed. And if he does pick it up on his power or his hitting capabilities, that would make him a real interesting kid. There's guys that have amazing foot and arm skills that are great fielders, but they're just not quite hitting yet. So, but he has a great tool in the fact that he can, he's an above average fielder. So I want to go back and see him to see if his hitting's improved. So I would say it's a combination of all the above that really is important to me. But I really like athletes. I want to tell you, if he's not an athlete, it's tough to really see that they might be a fit. If it's just a kid that can just hit, I don't know if that's somebody that I want to be interested in the future.
Okay. And, it was one of those deals where I could see a kid and I'd be like, he's got something. But every once in a while, you'd see a kid and you're like, this kid, he's an athlete. He's got the tools. He's got this. He's got a terrible attitude. How does attitude sometimes factor into this scouting?
There was a kid that I wanted to write up for a report, and he hit a ground ball in a Division II game, and he didn't run out first base. Guess what? I didn't write him up.
Didn't write him up.
You can't, if you can't finish, if you can't finish running from, home base to first, and you think that and you can predict better than anybody else can, whether or not the fielder's going to actually throw the ball correctly, or if the first baseman's not going to drop it. And then if you want to predict that and put that into your team's hands with your mind, go for it for somebody else, but not for me. So I think attitude's all about it. I think that there are things about players that add in and above the 5 tools, in my opinion. Right. I think there's things about people and their character and the way they carry themselves in the game. Obviously, I think any scout would say that they're going to want to make sure they talk to the coaches as to, what is the attitude of the player? Is he a team player? Does he follow instructions? Is he a headache? All those things, because they're not wanting to, in the big leagues, they're not wanting anybody that's going to become a headache.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree with that. I see the kids all the time that, they get that strike 3 and they turn around. They want to yell at the umpire, yell at the world, yell at their mom, yell at their dad. They blame everybody but them. And you're sitting there going, kid, the catcher never moved his glove. What are you yelling about? Like, you know what? I'd rather lose with a good attitude than win with a bad attitude sometimes. Okay.
I think, baseball is a team sport. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, have you scouted anybody that's on the realm, is on the cup?
Well, no, the only thing, I wasn't directly involved with Alec Baum, getting drafted, but I had seen him the year before I started with the Phillies, and he was on my list, but I wasn't involved in that as far as him going to the Phillies. But
right.
Anybody else that's in the minors, there are people from St. Louis that I had interest in that have gone on. There is, there's the kid that's with Philly now that was at Notre Dame, but he left my area, but he was on our radar, and he's with Philadelphia now. Scherzer, my kid caught Scherzer.
Oh wow!
So that was, he was on my radar back in the day when my son was really young.
When you saw him back in the day, what'd you think?
Oh, there's no doubt that he had what you were just talking about. He had the fire, he had the command. There's a lot of people that were curious as to whether or not that he had enough consistency on a lot of his pitches, right, at that time when he was younger.
Okay.
But I could see it. I could see that he was in and above, if you put the tools grades on him, that he was in and above other people. And I was quite surprised that, he ended up in the independent league before he finally, went on. I think he went on with Arizona. And, so my son was catching him back when he was in ninth grade, and he would come back from Missouri Tigers when he was with Missouri at the time.
It's funny because I lived up in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and it was the home of the AAA Yankees. And we'd go in the beginning of the season, and I'd see somebody, and I'd watch him, and I'd watch him, and I'd watch him, and I tell my wife, I said, this guy is gonna get pulled up soon. And 2 weeks later, we go back to a game, and boom, Bird was gone. And I'm like, oh, I was like, and my wife goes, boy, you called it. And I said, here's Ray Snyder. He was Rob Ray Snyder. He was another one that was on my radar. And there was another, Sean Duncan. Sean Duncan, he played up there. And I told my wife, I said, if the Yankees don't pull him up, because they had him up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And I was like, if they don't keep him up there, if they give him consistently at bat, he can really do something, because that's where Sean Duncan was.
Mr. Duncan was the pitching coach for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Right.
He's formerly the catcher, I think, with the Yankees.
And, he hit a shot up in Scranton. I mean, as soon as he hit it, I turned to my wife. I was like, that's gone. And this thing wasn't just gone. It went out of the stadium, and then there was a giant gap in between the stadium and this rock wall that held up the mountain behind it. And he hit the middle of that wall, and it was just a towering line drive. And I saw him hit that, and I'm like, this guy's a monster. And sure enough, 3 days later, he was gone. But have you ever seen one of these guys just develop in front of your eyes from year to year?
Well, yeah, I would say I've seen more ball players that didn't get the actual to the bigs that you thought were going to get there that didn't get there. There is a kid that came out of TCU that I saw him one summer, Lucan Baker, that's now at the St. Louis Cardinals, that I still think that there's potential there with him. You got to remember, as an associate scout, I don't get the opportunity to see the kids that everybody else gets to see.
Okay.
Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find the kids to get to the area guy to see if it's somebody that they want to spend time continuing to watch. So I'm kind of going to a lot of the D3 games, and I'm just going to the high school and I'm giving the guy the name. And then once, if it's somebody that somebody wants to see, then they get to go look at them, and then I got to go back and find some more.
Okay. All right. So you're a link in the chain then. But I mean,
I'm on the beginning of the chain where I'm hopefully finding somebody that they haven't seen.
Right.
And then they can go check it out and say, okay, yeah, I want to keep seeing him. You don't have to go see him anymore. I do like him. I don't like him. That kind of thing. Go back to work and find me some more,
Okay.
And people don't realize that it is 1% that make it.
Right. It's the same thing with umpires. It's 1% that makes it. It's a really tough gig. So let me ask you, do you remember Brian Taylor? He was a young man that he was playing for the Yankees organization and went back home and broke his arm in a bar brawl.
Oh yeah.
Hey, you remember that? You ever have any one of those type of situations?
Well, no, there's a kid that's with the Brewers that was the rookie of the year last year, or rookie of the year in pitching for the Brewers, that just happened this year. And he did something socially, and he did something to his arm, and he couldn't pitch for the Brewers for their playoffs.
Wow.
So,
yeah. They got to be careful out there. They get that little target put on their back that they just signed a major league contract. They don't understand that, you do something outside of the scope of professionalism, and you can't reap the repercussions of it. Why do you do this? Because I know you're not making millions and millions of dollars scouting as an associate, right?
I love the game. I like, and I actually still have the dream of, even though, I couldn't get Jake Berger, I wasn't involved in Alec Baum. I'd like to finally, be that associate scout that gave my area scout a name of somebody, and then that kid does get drafted. Because can you imagine having that kid become a player in the bigs and him saying, yeah, thank you, Mr. Ryan. I really appreciate you giving my name, because it would change somebody's life. And, I think we all have the dream of liking the game of baseball and, the dream of getting to the bigs. And I just like to help somebody. And I think that there are kids out there that's all they need is somebody to say yes. And then it happens, and so I have that dream or that drive that I'm going to find that diamond in the rough, and I'm going to change his life and his family's life for the future of whatever he does.
And that's actually part of my thing with this show. That's exactly why I put it out there, and I make sure it's kid friendly. And I want these kids to understand that, I tell my kids all the time, if you don't make deposits, you can't make withdrawals. If you don't go to work, you can't get paid. If you don't, say hello to your wife in the morning and give her a hug and a kiss, there's not going to be hey, I want a hug and a kiss now. You know what I mean? So it's the whole premise behind this show is to show these kids.
I love the game, and there are young individuals that love the game too. And I would love to give them the opportunity to fulfill their dream. And I'd like to be a part of that journey. People think I'm crazy. I like going to, for example, a national showcase. They have a national showcase here in St. Louis. I like sitting out there for 8 hours for 2 days, and it's a long day, but right. I like sitting there watching the kids and seeing who I think I might find that, if I can find that diamond in the rough to let somebody know about it, because I just enjoy it. If I end up passing away sitting at a diamond field, that's okay with me. But I just love the game. I like the opportunity to share with others a positive thing in life. I don't think there's enough people out there today doing good things for other people. I think we need to start trying to realize that if we help others, that, that comes back too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. What you put out there is what you get back.
Yeah.
All right. What do you think the direction of baseball is going now?
Well, I hope that last night was not the last night to watch a pitcher hit. I know that the path that a lot of people want the game to go. I'm going to miss that if that does happen in the new collective bargaining agreement. If they decide not to have pitchers hit and just to make it a universal, designated hitter. I think the game of baseball is missing some of the characteristics about it that I really liked and what attracted me to the game, and that is the strategy of moving from home to first to second to third to home. I'm kind of like a Tony La Russa guy. I do believe that you can have certain pitchers that face better against certain players, and I think that they're making it more of a swing and miss type game, and I think that's unfortunate, but that's what the crowd wants. The crowd wants to see home runs, and they want to see fast pitchers. So, but I will remind everybody, however, if you look at the World Series winners, it wasn't just home runs that won the World Series. I think there is some strategy that's been involved. I think there are teams that can move a guy from first to second and then bring him in from second. What I'm concerned about in the game is I want my baseball teams to be filled with 5-tool ball players. I think that game is more exciting than just watching somebody either strike out or hit a home run.
You know what? I'm starting to see the loss in the art of the bunt. The loss in the art of running bases. I see that. Just some of these guys, they freeze or they hesitate, and that hesitation is costing them a step or two. And then next thing you know, they're getting picked off or they're getting thrown out at second, third base because they hesitate. And it's just like one of those deals where I'm like, the art of bunting is going away. The art of running the bases, was running away. I was always a big guy. And when I played in pony ball, 16 game schedule, I stole 18 bases. And people were like, how did you do that? And I'm like, because I knew I was reading the pitcher, I was reading the catcher. So while you guys were 2 steps behind, I was 3 steps ahead. So I barely got in, but it's because I cheated those 3 steps. I could see what he's doing. I could see the motion. Sometimes they would say, oh, he's such a big guy, he's not going to steal. And I'm like, oh boy, now you just gave me another 2 steps. I'm like, here it is. And the mental game of it, the mental game of it, the strategy. Sometimes it's not there. Sometimes they're not thinking. Sometimes it's just raw talent.
Are you telling me that you're in professional baseball and you can't lay one down third? I just don't understand that, and I don't understand why. But I think that, you know, Whitey Herzog with the St. Louis Cardinals played small ball. I think Earl Weaver, who is one of the best, you know, managers to ever, you know, manage a game, is probably turning over in his grave because of the fact that the game has changed that way. But you know, I don't own a team. I don't sell tickets, so that's not for me to say. But I'm concerned about that part of the game, is that we're starting to get away from the idea that, you know, another thing I'll throw in there, can a pitcher pitch 7 innings?
Yeah. Can a pitcher pitch 7 innings? Yeah, some of these
guys, a lot anymore.
Yeah, they're getting pulled out 4th, 5th inning. You know, hey, he's got 100 pitches. He's got 90 pitches. You got to get him out in the 5th inning.
Tickets are what the owners are looking for. So people are wanting home runs.
You may want to take a look at the owner for the Savannah Bananas. I don't know if you ever heard of that team. Have you heard of that?
No.
Take a look. They're actually on my channel. If anybody ever gets a chance, the Savannah Bananas. I interviewed the owner, and his one game he had for 1 hour 48 minutes. It's a 2-hour time limit, 9 innings, and they have some crazy rules. There's no walks. If a fan catches a ball, the batter is out. I mean, it's pure entertainment. And as an owner, that's exactly what he's doing. He's putting behinds in the seats, and he has the power to do that. You know, and
in most of those type situations, that's what they're doing, because it's about family entertainment, and I understand that.
Yep. Any rough points for a fan, it's something he wants to eliminate. So I mean, I totally understand it. You got to put those behinds in the seats. I get it. I understand it. What advice do you have for these young guys that want to go to the major leagues?
Play as many sports as you can. Become the best athlete that you can. Realize that, you know, that you're being watched at all times. If you are a good player, you are being watched, you know, and so you will be found. But, you know, just enjoy the game. But if you want to, you know, if you want to go to the bigs, you know, be an athlete, learn how to play baseball, know what the 5 tools are, and try to do them to the best of your capability. And make sure that you go to the cages and you do the weights and you do the stuff you're supposed to do. But I always stress to everybody, listen, you're not really going to become a baseball player if you're not an athlete, because it really does take 5 tools to be the true baseball player. So just go enjoy sports and have fun and enjoy the game. It's the best game that there is, and just go enjoy it.
They were like, yeah, you're good, but you're not that good. You know, you guys.
Yeah, just remember that, you know, like we said earlier too, you know, so few people get that opportunity, you know. But don't stop just because, you know, at some point in your life you're not getting the breaks you wanted to get. If you love the game and you want to play, just go enjoy it and let things happen the way they happen. And if you really are good, you'll get found.
You will get found. Yeah. All right. Well, good. Thank you. Thanks for being on the show. And
thanks for inviting me. I enjoyed it. And if I ever can be of any help or assistance in the future, just let me know.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. And guys, remember, keep pushing, keep striving. Just like he said, keep playing ball. And remember, what do I say? Every strike is going to get you closer to that next home run. Keep swinging.
If you like the show, please do me a favor. Subscribe. Right. You see it? It's right there. Subscribe, share, like, and don't forget, put that bell on. It'll ding you when I put something else on, all right?